Pay very close attention, because what is unfolding right now is far more significant than an ordinary weekend transition. At first glance, it may seem as though one day is simply giving way to the next, another Saturday fading into another Sunday. Yet beneath the surface of everyday routines, something extraordinary is gathering momentum. In less than a single day, the sun arrives at a celestial threshold that reveals itself only once each year. And this particular passage carries a weight and significance that many people will never consciously recognize. An invisible doorway is beginning to open across the heavens, and whether you have noticed it or not, your life is already standing at its entrance. There is a reason the atmosphere feels different. There is a reason your emotions have been speaking more loudly than your logic. There is a reason an almost unexplainable pull has been guiding your attention toward the people, places, and memories that feel like home. As the night of June 20th gives way to June 21st, a remarkable astronomical event takes place. The sun reaches the solstice. This is not symbolic language, it is the literal meaning of the word itself, derived from the Latin phrase meaning, "The sun stands still." The solstice marks a rare pause in the yearly rhythm of our world. It is as if the great clockwork of the planet briefly suspends its motion, inhales deeply, and prepares to begin a completely different chapter. At exactly 4:25 in the morning, universal time, the sun leaves the quick-moving, mentally active landscape of Gemini and enters the nurturing, emotionally protective realm of Cancer. This single moment marks both the summer solstice and the official beginning of Cancer season. More importantly, it represents the culmination of a powerful, energetic cycle connected to home, belonging, love, emotional security, and the people who truly matter. If you have recently felt an unusual desire to retreat from noise, reconnect with family, spend time in familiar spaces, or surround yourself with individuals who make you feel genuinely safe, there is a deeper reason behind that experience. It is not random. It is not imagined. And before this journey is over, you will understand exactly why that feeling has become so strong. First, though, you need to understand why these coming days stand apart from everything else that has happened this year. Most people will move through this transition without noticing it. They will wake up on June 21st, follow their normal routines, sip their morning coffee, scroll endlessly through their phones, and remain completely unaware that a profound energetic shift has already occurred. They will miss the moment entirely. Yet according to this astrological picture, 3 specific zodiac signs are standing at the edge of an opportunity that appears only rarely. By the end of this message, you will understand why. Something has already begun moving beneath the surface of ordinary life. You may not have been able to name it, but chances are you have felt it. It presses gently against familiar patterns. It whispers through moments of reflection. It creates the sense that a chapter is ending even before visible evidence appears. Perhaps you have noticed the intensity of recent weeks beginning to soften. Perhaps the frantic pace that once demanded your constant attention has started to lose its influence. This shift is not accidental. For weeks, collective energy has been shaped by Gemini, a sign associated with movement, communication, curiosity, and endless mental stimulation. Gemini scatters attention across countless directions, encouraging activity, conversation, and constant engagement. Yet on June 1st, the atmosphere began changing. Mercury, the planet connected to thought, communication, perception, and expression, entered Cancer. That subtle movement initiated a gradual emotional transformation that many people experienced without realizing its source. Suddenly, memories seemed more vivid. Familiar places carried greater emotional significance. Meaningful conversations became more appealing than casual exchanges. Superficial interactions felt draining. The desire for authentic connection grew stronger. People naturally gravitated toward those who truly understood them while distancing themselves from relationships that lacked emotional depth. All of this has been preparation. All of it has been building quietly beneath the surface. The emotional ground has been cultivated, waiting for activation. Now, as the sun reaches Cancer at the exact moment of the solstice, everything that has been accumulating internally begins expressing itself at once. This energy does not arrive gradually. It arrives with force. It arrives like a tide. And this is where the deeper truth emerges. Unlike many astrological seasons that emphasize achievement, ambition, performance, and relentless pursuit, Cancer asks for something entirely different. Cancer is cardinal water. It governs home, family, emotional roots, safety, belonging, protection, and the sacred space of the heart. The solstice amplifies that message. It acts like a cosmic interruption, temporarily quieting the demands of the external world, so that attention can return to what holds genuine meaning. Yet the story did not begin with the solstice itself. The seeds of this moment were planted 12 days earlier through an extraordinary planetary event that many people underestimated. On June 9th, the heavens displayed one of the most beautiful alignments of the year. Venus and Jupiter, widely known in astrology as the two great benefics, formed an exact conjunction at 25 degrees of Cancer. The event was remarkable, not only symbolically, but visually. Looking toward the western evening sky, observers could see both planets shining so closely together that they appeared almost ready to become a single source of light. Separated by less than 2 degrees, they created a breathtaking image that mirrored the energetic reality taking place beneath the surface. Venus governs love, affection, attraction, beauty, harmony, value, and financial blessings. Jupiter governs growth, opportunity, expansion, fortune, wisdom, and abundance. Whenever these two planets unite, their positive qualities reinforce one another, creating conditions where blessings can multiply. Yet this conjunction carried even greater significance because it occurred in Cancer, the sign where Jupiter is considered exalted. In astrological language, exaltation represents a position of maximum strength and effectiveness. Jupiter operates here with exceptional power, expressing its gifts with unusual generosity. Growth becomes easier, nourishment flows more naturally. Opportunities emerge with a quality that can feel almost miraculous. What happened on June 9th was not an isolated event. It was the beginning of a larger unfolding process, one that has been quietly building ever since preparing the stage for the solstice moment that now stands directly before us. And understanding that connection changes the way you see everything that follows. There is a detail hidden inside this story that most people overlook, and once you see it, the entire meaning of this period becomes impossible to ignore. When Venus united with Jupiter, while Jupiter was operating from its exalted position in Cancer, the result was not simply another favorable astrological aspect. Across generations, many traditions regarded this kind of meeting as something exceptionally rare, a celestial opening associated with the simultaneous expansion of love, emotional fulfillment, family blessings, and material comfort. Yet what makes this alignment so remarkable is the nature of the energy itself. Unlike the passionate surges often associated with fire signs or the unpredictable excitement connected to air signs, this influence moves differently. It does not arrive like a storm, it arrives like shelter. It does not seek to overwhelm your life with intensity. Instead, it offers relief. Imagine carrying emotional weight for years without fully realizing how heavy it has become, then suddenly feeling that burden begin to lift. That is the atmosphere surrounding this alignment. It encourages a form of love that feels steady rather than dramatic, nourishing rather than destabilizing. It creates conditions where people no longer feel compelled to prove their worth, perform for acceptance, or chase validation from those unwilling to give it. Instead, the emphasis shifts toward emotional safety, genuine belonging, and the quiet comfort of being valued exactly as you are. What many people fail to recognize is that the universe is not emphasizing excitement right now. It is emphasizing restoration. Deep beneath the surface, old emotional injuries are being addressed. Memories tied to childhood experiences, disappointments from previous relationships, and lingering beliefs about not being enough are all being brought into a space where healing becomes possible. This is why the conjunction that occurred on June 9th was never meant to be viewed as the final destination. It was merely the beginning. It was the spark. It was the first signal that a much larger process had already started unfolding. The solstice represents the moment that initial spark finds something greater to ignite. Before that ignition could occur, however, another crucial piece had to fall into place. What happened next was subtle enough that many people never consciously noticed it, yet its influence may already be showing up in your daily experience. 2 days ago, on June 19th, Chiron moved into Taurus. At first glance, this transition might seem less dramatic than the conjunction between Venus and Jupiter, but its significance is enormous. Chiron is often called the wounded healer because it reveals both the places where pain exists and the path through which healing can emerge. For the past 8 years, Chiron has traveled through Aries. During that long cycle, countless people were confronted with difficult questions surrounding identity, independence, confidence, and self-definition. Aries demanded that individuals examine who they truly were beneath expectations, roles, and external labels. It challenged people to face fears related to authenticity and personal existence. For many, it was an exhausting process, filled with uncertainty, frustration, and profound self-discovery. Now that chapter is beginning to close. As Chiron enters Taurus, the entire landscape of healing changes. Taurus governs the physical realm. It is connected to the body, the senses, security, resources, stability, self-worth, finances, comfort, and the tangible foundation upon which life is built. As a result, healing begins descending from abstract emotional concepts into lived experience. If you have recently noticed a stronger awareness of your physical needs, a desire to slow your pace, nourish yourself properly, spend time in nature, rest more deeply, manage your resources more carefully, or cultivate a healthier relationship with your own body, you may already be feeling the effects of this shift. There is a growing recognition that emotional and spiritual growth cannot remain disconnected from physical reality. The body itself becomes part of the healing journey. What is particularly striking is the timing. Chiron entered Taurus exactly 48 hours before the solstice. This sequence feels almost intentional. First, the body is prepared. Then the gateway opens. First, the foundation is strengthened. Then the energy arrives. It is as though the cosmos understands that blessings require a vessel capable of receiving them. Without preparation, even the most beautiful opportunities can slip through our hands. With preparation, however, something entirely different becomes possible. This brings us to the extraordinary convergence taking place on June 21st, because the events unfolding on this day do not occur separately. They overlap, reinforce one another, and create one of the most concentrated expressions of cardinal energy seen in many years. Everything begins at 4:20 in the morning on June 21st, when the Sun enters Cancer at 0 degrees. This marks the official beginning of Cancer season and the exact moment of the solstice. From an astronomical perspective, it represents the point at which the northern hemisphere reaches its maximum tilt toward the Sun, creating the longest day of the year. Symbolically, it represents a turning point in collective focus. The restless momentum associated with Gemini gives way to something far more intimate. Attention begins moving inward. Priorities begin shifting. The desire to connect with emotional roots becomes stronger than the desire to remain constantly stimulated by external activity. Questions surrounding family, belonging, emotional security, and meaningful relationships suddenly move to the forefront. Beneath everything else, one central question emerges. What truly makes you feel safe? Yet the story does not stop there. Less than 2 hours later, at 5:50, the newly arrived Sun forms a harmonious sextile with the newly arrived Chiron in Taurus. This creates a powerful opening for healing. The symbolism is profound. The Sun represents vitality, identity, purpose, and conscious awareness. Chiron represents both pain and wisdom gained through pain. When these two bodies connect through a supportive aspect, clarity becomes available. The distance between old wounds and future growth suddenly feels smaller. Lessons that once seemed confusing begin making sense. The underlying message carried by this alignment is remarkably simple, yet deeply transformative. Worthiness is not something that must be earned through perfection. Love does not arrive because flaws have been eliminated. In many cases, genuine connection becomes possible precisely when people allow themselves to be seen honestly, vulnerably, and without protective masks. The qualities individuals often hide become the very qualities that invite authentic relationships into their lives. Then, later on that same day, another layer is added to the story. A first quarter. Moon forms in Libra, introducing a completely different requirement. While Cancer emphasizes feeling, nurturing, and emotional awareness, Libra demands movement toward balance through action. Libra governs partnership, commitment, marriage, cooperation, and relational harmony. The first quarter phase is traditionally associated with decision points and necessary adjustments. This creates a moment of pressure that asks for participation. Longing alone is no longer enough. Desiring a secure home, meaningful partnership, emotional stability, or deeper connection is only the beginning. Action becomes necessary. Conversations must happen. Boundaries must be established. Choices must be made. Steps must be taken. What makes this day so extraordinary is the way all three influences operate simultaneously. The Sun entering Cancer, Chiron entering Taurus and receiving the Sun's supportive sextile, and the first quarter Moon in Libra all activate together, creating a powerful cardinal pattern focused on initiation, movement, and meaningful change. This combined force becomes the mechanism through which the larger blessing begins expressing itself. Yet even within a collective experience, certain individuals feel the impact more directly than others. The planetary geometry forming on this day creates a particularly strong resonance with 3 specific zodiac signs, and that is where the story becomes even more fascinating. Now we arrive at the part of the story where everything becomes personal, because while the collective atmosphere is changing for everyone, there are certain individuals standing directly beneath the brightest part of this cosmic spotlight. If your chart carries one of these specific energies through your Sun, Moon, or rising sign, then what has been building behind the scenes may soon become visible in ways that are impossible to ignore. The shift is no longer theoretical. It becomes tangible. It becomes lived experience. And for Cancer, the impact is especially profound. If Cancer appears prominently in your chart, then the extraordinary sequence of events surrounding the solstice is unfolding within the most intimate and defining area of your astrological blueprint, the first house. The realm associated with identity, personal expression, vitality, confidence, and the way you move through the world. This is not a minor activation. This represents the culmination of an entire cycle that has been developing for many months. Jupiter has already been traveling through your sign, steadily expanding opportunities, increasing visibility, and encouraging growth. Now the solstice arrives and amplifies everything. The conjunction between Venus and Jupiter that occurred on June 9th took place directly within the area of life connected to your sense of self. Then the Sun enters Cancer, bringing an enormous surge of life force and illumination into your personal sphere. It is almost as though a light has been switched on from within. What makes this especially significant is the way it alters how others perceive you. For a long time, many Cancer individuals may have questioned whether their sensitivity, compassion, intuition, and emotional awareness were liabilities. Perhaps there were moments when these qualities felt misunderstood. Perhaps you learned to hide them behind caution or self-protection. Yet under this alignment, those very characteristics become magnetic. The traits you once worried made you too vulnerable suddenly become the qualities that attract others toward you. Without forcing anything, without competing for attention, without proving your value, you begin radiating something that people instinctively trust. The universe is not asking you to pursue recognition. Recognition comes to you. If you are single, this period creates a remarkable opening for meaningful attraction. Rather than encounters built on uncertainty or emotional games, there is a stronger possibility of connecting with someone who immediately understands what makes you special. The energy supports authenticity rather than performance. It encourages genuine appreciation rather than endless pursuit. If you are already in a relationship, the atmosphere begins softening tensions that may have accumulated over time. Emotional weight that once felt difficult to move starts lifting. Misunderstandings become easier to resolve. Pressure gradually gives way to support. What emerges is a stronger sense of partnership rooted in care rather than obligation. Yet relationships are only one part of the blessing. As Venus and later Jupiter continue their movement into Leo, attention shifts toward the areas of money, resources, confidence, and self-worth. Financial circumstances gain greater stability and momentum. Opportunities for growth begin appearing. More importantly, the emotional security you have long desired starts becoming something you can actually build. The dream of creating a true sanctuary, a place where you feel protected, comfortable, and fully yourself, becomes far more attainable than it once seemed. Then the focus turns toward Aries, and the experience could not be more different. In many ways, that difference is exactly what makes this period so important. Aries is accustomed to movement. Aries thrives on action, challenge, competition, and forward momentum. It is the energy of the pioneer, the fighter, the individual who pushes ahead regardless of obstacles. Yet the solstice directs its influence into an entirely different part of the chart. For Aries, this concentration of Cancer energy activates the fourth house, the domain associated with home, family, ancestry, emotional roots, private life, and the deepest layers of psychological foundation. Rather than directing attention outward toward conquest and achievement, the cosmos turns your focus inward. The energy that normally drives external victories is redirected toward the place where your heart actually lives. This can feel unfamiliar at first. Some Aries individuals may even resist it. Yet the purpose becomes clearer as events unfold. Imagine years of emotional residue slowly being washed away, family tensions that have lingered beneath the surface, old memories that quietly shaped your behavior, childhood experiences that influenced your sense of safety, patterns inherited across generations. This transit functions like a cleansing force moving through those hidden spaces. What emerges afterward is not weakness. It is peace. It is warmth. It is the realization that true strength is not measured only by what you achieve in public, but also by the quality of the life you create behind closed doors. For Aries already sharing life with a partner, the greatest gifts may appear in surprisingly simple moments. The energy favors intimacy expressed through daily rituals, shared responsibilities, mutual protection, and the creation of emotional security. Meaningful connection is found not through dramatic displays, but through consistency and care. For single Aries individuals, this period carries the potential for encounters that feel fundamentally different from previous experiences. Rather than relationships driven solely by excitement, there is a stronger possibility of attracting someone whose presence feels comforting, familiar, and deeply grounding. Someone capable of seeing the vulnerable side that usually remains hidden beneath courage and independence. Then, as Venus and Jupiter eventually enter Leo and activate your fifth house, the atmosphere transforms once again. Romance becomes brighter, more expressive, more joyful. Creativity flourishes. Passion expands. For some individuals, themes connected to children and family growth become increasingly important. The next chapter carries a sense of celebration and emotional abundance that continues well beyond the solstice itself. Finally, we arrive at Capricorn, where perhaps the most consequential developments are unfolding. For Capricorn, the solstice activates the point directly opposite your sign, and this opposition is precisely what makes the energy so powerful. Capricorn naturally gravitates toward achievement, responsibility, structure, long-term goals, and public accomplishment. Much of life is approached through discipline and careful planning. Yet all of the Cancer energy gathering in the sky directs attention toward the seventh house, the area governing committed partnership, marriage, long-term unions, agreements, and significant one-to-one relationships. In other words, the universe begins emphasizing the very territory where Capricorn tends to proceed with the greatest caution. Love becomes impossible to ignore. Commitment becomes the central theme. Unlike signs that rush headfirst into relationships, Capricorn often takes time. Trust is earned slowly. Foundations are built carefully. Stability matters more than temporary excitement. Endurance matters more than fleeting passion. The remarkable thing about the June 2026 sky is that it appears designed to reward exactly that approach. The conjunction between Venus and Jupiter occurring within your partnership sector creates one of the most supportive relationship influences available throughout the entire year. Expansion flows directly into commitments. Optimism strengthens bonds. Opportunities for growth emerge through connection. Existing relationships receive a powerful infusion of support, warmth, and possibility. For many Capricorns, this period carries symbolism strongly associated with formal commitments and long-term decisions. Engagements, weddings, shared living arrangements, contractual agreements, and renewed promises all fall within the themes activated by this extraordinary alignment. It is as though the heavens themselves are encouraging relationships built on trust, loyalty, and genuine partnership to move forward into their next chapter. And what follows from that point may become one of the defining stories of the entire year. What makes this story even more remarkable is that for some people, the most important development has not happened yet. In fact, something that has been unfolding almost invisibly may suddenly reach a level of certainty that changes the direction of an entire future. Capricorn, this is especially true for you. A relationship, partnership, or meaningful connection that has been progressing at a careful pace may finally arrive at a moment of unmistakable clarity. What once felt uncertain begins taking on structure. What seemed fragile begins revealing its strength. What existed as possibility starts becoming reality. There is also another layer woven into this timing. Near the very end of the month, Mercury begins its retrograde cycle within this same area of your chart. For many Capricorns, this often corresponds with the return of someone whose influence never completely disappeared. Yet the true gift is not merely seeing that person again. The deeper blessing comes through recognizing how much has changed since the last chapter. Old wounds have softened, lessons have been learned. Maturity has replaced old patterns. The circumstances that once prevented something from flourishing may no longer exist. What once arrived too early may finally arrive at exactly the right moment. Yet this celestial story is far bigger than three signs alone. Even if Cancer, Aries, or Capricorn are not dominant in your chart, these planetary movements still send waves through every corner of the zodiac. No one remains entirely untouched by what is unfolding. Taurus, for example, experiences this energy through themes that resonate deeply with your nature. The atmosphere supports stable affection, reliability, consistency, and emotional security. At the same time, Chiron's entrance into Taurus marks the beginning of a profound healing process that unfolds across multiple years. This journey is less about finding worth through external validation and more about rediscovering the value that has always existed within you. Pisces may notice something equally beautiful developing. The influence of the benefic planets activates areas connected to romance, inspiration, joy, and creative expression. What appears to be a simple friendship could quietly begin evolving into something more meaningful. Feelings deepen. Familiar interactions take on new significance. A connection that once seemed ordinary may reveal unexpected emotional potential. Scorpio experiences this period through a gradual softening of defenses. Trust becomes easier. The need to constantly protect yourself begins loosening its grip. Someone's reliability, consistency, and genuine care may finally convince you to lower walls that have remained standing for a very long time. Meanwhile, progress and recognition continue building within your professional life, creating an unusual balance between personal and public fulfillment. Gemini enters this phase from a different starting point. Earlier this month, the new moon in Gemini offered a fresh personal cycle. Now the focus shifts toward value, standards, and self-respect. Relationships become mirrors, reflecting what you truly believe you deserve. The universe encourages you to stop settling for half-hearted connections and begin expecting more from those who seek access to your energy. Leo stands on the edge of a major turning point. The momentum building now is only the beginning. As Venus and later Jupiter enter your sign, an entirely new chapter opens. The coming 13 months carry themes of visibility, confidence, attraction, opportunity, and expansion. The spotlight grows brighter. The world notices you differently. Circumstances begin aligning in ways that amplify your presence and influence. Virgo may discover that love is much closer than expected. Rather than arriving through dramatic encounters, it may emerge through friendships, communities, social networks, or familiar circles. Someone already present in your life could gradually become far more important than you ever anticipated. Libra receives one of the most direct activations of the solstice itself. The first quarter moon lands in your sign, creating pressure toward movement and visible progress. Decisions that have been delayed can no longer remain undecided. Relationships seek definition. Commitments seek expression. The next step becomes impossible to ignore. Sagittarius experiences this energy through intimacy, trust, vulnerability, and shared resources. The universe invites you to move beyond surface-level interactions and enter deeper emotional territory. The willingness to be fully seen becomes the very thing that unlocks meaningful rewards. Aquarius encounters the magic in places many people overlook. Grand gestures matter less than consistency. Small acts of care, daily devotion, reliability, and practical support become the foundation through which relationships strengthen. Love reveals itself through presence rather than spectacle. Every sign receives something from this season. Yet there is another truth hidden beneath the excitement that deserves attention. The emotional peak surrounding the solstice is powerful, but it is not the entire story. What happens afterward determines whether these blessings take root or simply drift away. This is where the cosmos begins asking more difficult questions. Several days after the solstice, attention shifts from inspiration towards substance. On June 25th, Venus forms a harmonious trine with Saturn. This aspect serves as an anchor. It transforms potential into structure. It favors commitments capable of lasting beyond temporary emotion. Romantic promises seek evidence. Feelings seek consistency. Affection seeks reliability. Under this influence, genuine relationships grow stronger because actions begin matching words. Financial decisions and property matters also benefit from a rare balance between emotional wisdom and practical judgment. Yet another influence arrives simultaneously. On that very same day, the Sun forms a square to Neptune. Suddenly, certainty becomes more difficult to maintain. Perception can become clouded. Idealism increases. Fantasies appear convincing. Emotions may become so powerful that they blur the distinction between intuition and wishful thinking. This is why patience becomes essential. During this approximately 48-hour period, it is wise to gather facts before making major commitments. Ask questions. Seek clarity. Confirm assumptions. Do not mistake imagination for confirmation. The energy is beautiful, but beauty alone is not proof. Then the final chapter of the month begins unfolding. On June 29th, Mercury stations retrograde in Cancer. This opens a 3-week period focused on revisiting family matters, repairing emotional bonds, addressing conversations that were never completed, and re-examining your relationship with home, belonging, and personal history. Issues that have remained unresolved may finally find a voice. Truths that have remained hidden may finally emerge. Healing becomes possible through reflection and honest communication. Only hours later, a full moon in Capricorn introduces an important counterbalance. While much of the month's energy has emphasized emotional fulfillment and personal foundations, this lunation redirects attention toward responsibility, ambition, achievement, and long-term goals. It reminds you that caring for your inner life should not come at the expense of your future aspirations. Balance must exist between home and accomplishment, between emotional security and worldly success. Then arrives the final transition that changes the atmosphere for more than a year. On June 30th, Jupiter leaves Cancer and enters Leo for the first time since 2014. Once there, it remains for approximately 13 months, extending into the summer of 2027. This shift is enormous. Jupiter in Cancer focused on emotional foundations, family bonds, personal healing, and inner security. Jupiter in Leo redirects growth toward confidence, creativity, visibility, leadership, self-expression, and joyful participation in life. The energy becomes bolder, more public, more expressive, more willing to take meaningful risks. It marks the beginning of an entirely different chapter. For many people, especially those connected to fire and air energies, this transition opens opportunities for recognition, success, expansion, and personal magnetism that will influence the year ahead in significant ways. When you step back and view the entire sequence, a larger pattern becomes visible. First came the invitation to reconnect with yourself. Then came the work of strengthening emotional foundations. Then came the creation of safety, belonging, and stability. Only after those roots were established did the universe begin opening the next door. The desire you have felt recently for peace, for familiarity, for genuine connection, for meaningful relationships was never random. It was preparation. The longing for quiet was preparation. The urge to slow down was preparation. The need to evaluate what truly matters was preparation. For weeks, this cardinal water energy has been clearing emotional clutter, softening resistance, and helping you release burdens that were never yours to carry. Many people will only recognize this transformation after it has already happened. They will look back months later and wonder why everything feels different. But some people sensed the shift before it became visible. They felt the change approaching before they could explain it. If that describes you, then trust that awareness. The solstice represents a rare annual doorway. For one brief moment, the rhythm of the world appears to pause while a new cycle begins. What you choose to bring through that doorway matters. The relationships you nurture, the boundaries you honor, the love you finally allow yourself to receive, the foundation you choose to build. These decisions belong entirely to you. The opportunity, however, is already here. The invitation has arrived. The blessing is available. And perhaps the reason you have felt this change approaching for so long is because some part of you already knew you were ready to meet it. Thank you for spending this time here and sharing this journey. If this message resonated with you, consider subscribing and joining future conversations. I would also love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Until we meet again, take care of yourself, stay open to what is unfolding, and continue exploring the deeper patterns that shape your path forward.